their neo-Marxism. They can then use the power of the union to call for strikes and bring political and economic pressure onto the public and politicians to further their agenda. It's community organizing. He is to build a mass Latino organization. Labor unions agitate for bilingualism and to build the Mexican-American community into a, quote, progressive, end quote, power bloc loyal to the Democratic Party. From a paper entitled Special Convention Discussion, subtitled Mexican-American Equality, submitted by Mr. Munaz for discussion before the May 21st or 23rd Communist Party USA National Convention in New York, there are tons of quotes. The pre-convention call for the 29th convention gives the right lead for our party, class, and people, and the Mexican-American people, and their struggle for equality and justice. It stresses the key is broad, united action, overcoming all obstacles that hold the movement back, getting a massive vote against the ultra-right in the primaries and in the midterm general election. There you go, folks. They're wanting to destroy traditional, original intent conservatives at the polls. And who is doing the bidding for the group desiring to destroy, quote, the ultra-right in the primaries? None other than the religious, useful idiots of our day. There's another article, two of them on this gentleman, I use that word loosely, by Trevor Loudon, as a leader of the Communist Party USA's Mexican-American Equality Commission. The Los Angeles-based activist Manaz enjoys a level of political influence that would be envied by most U.S. congressmen or senators if they had the slightest inkling of its extent. It says his primary job is to ensure that as many Mexican Americans as possible vote Democrat, to ensure the Republican Party and conservative values in general are consigned to the dustbin of history, end quote. It is up to him and his comrades to tilt the balance of power in the border states, particularly to the point that Republicans become a permanent minority. These are long articles, and I'm not going to read them all, but you must read them, I believe. And they're both by Trevor Loudon, and they're both at our website, worldviewweekend.com today. But isn't it interesting that the Communist Party USA is pushing for the same thing that Bill Hybels, Leith Anderson, and Richard Land are pushing for? Now, where will amnesty lead us? I wonder if Leith Anderson and Richard Land and Bill Hybels are aware that while you push for amnesty, you're going to be doing a couple things. Number one, destroying any representation of the religious right, the religious conservatives at the polls, by people who are not going to be accepting our worldview, people who will be indebted to the liberal neo-Marxists, to the Communist Party USA, to the liberal unions to go vote with them. You also will have the issue of, now that we have illegals here, will we, as one congressman has already said, now allow for their homosexual partners to join them in America? And then number three, amnesty brings national ID card. What does that mean? Well, on my website today, I have an audio clip by the lead attorney who's argued before the U.S. Supreme Court numerous times at the Rutherford Institute, a man who's defended homeschooling many times. I don't agree with everything that John Whitehead stands for, nor would he agree with everything I stand for. So this is not a blanket endorsement of everything that Whitehead has ever written or said. But he is a constitutional attorney, and he does know the law, and he has done extensive research on the national ID card that is being pushed through the amnesty legislation. And I want to play this clip for you because I wonder if Bill Hybels, Leith Anderson, and Richard Land understand what it is they're doing. I believe they're shoving tyranny right on top of us, and they're pushing onto us a post-American ideology through these radical liberals who hate America, who have just said flat out, that they want a revolution in America, and they're using illegal immigration to bring this revolution. Let's listen to this warning. It's two clips. We'll get the first one in before the break, probably, and the second one after. This warning by a constitutional attorney who's arguing before the Supreme Court on national ID being pushed by amnesty. Let's roll it.
All this is coalescing into a national ID card, which of sorts came into being with the passage of the Real ID Act in 2005, which basically was going to have driver's licenses match up across the country. However, that has been resisted because of costs and implementation problems the states have. basically oppose this. However, with a proposed new bill in Congress by Senator Charles Schumer, who's a Democrat from New York, and Lindsey Graham, who's a Republican from South Carolina, this particular bill, this immigration bill, will require that all citizens and residents in the country, let me emphasize, all citizens will have to have a national biometric identification card. This particular card will have all kinds of information on it, from your retina scan to your fingerprints to the mapping of the veins in the back of your hand, believe it or not, and so on and so on. Eventually, personal business transactions, credit card purchases, all these things are going to go on this particular card. What this particular card is in this proposed bill, this immigration bill, this biometric national ID card, is what Ronald Reagan called the mark of the beast in 1981, and Bill Clinton resisted it when he was president, saying it was just another move for Big Brother. Fortunately, many groups from conservative to liberal to libertarian have now come out against this particular card. In fact, the Rutherford Institute with the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and a number of groups have come out. We've written a letter to Congress, to various committees, the House Judiciary Committee, to the Senate, to the White House, putting President Obama on notice, who's basically been making intonations that he's behind this particular bill. We're raising some real serious problems with this. And here's what the letter says in part. A national ID card would not only violate privacy by helping to consolidate data and facilitate tracking of individuals, it would bring government into the very center of our lives by serving as a government permission slip needed by everyone in order to work. As happened with Social Security card decades ago, use of such ID cards will quickly spread and be used for other purposes, from travel to voting to gun ownership. In other words, this biometric national ID card would be the ultimate tracking device. And despite what you might hear from Congress and whatever saying there will be no databases for this, in order for this card to be effective, there will have to be huge databases, again, by the government and the corporations that work with the government to collect information on American citizens.
Now, is that what you want? Is that what you want, a national ID card? Because that's what amnesty is going to bring. I think John Whitehead is quite correct on that. And does Richard Land and Leith Anderson and Bill Hybels and these other guys pushing social justice, thinking they're doing the work of the Lord, and crowbarring Bible verses into white papers that they're writing to try to convince you that somehow you're a bad Christian, you're unloving and unchristlike if you are not for legalizing 11, 18 million people who are here who have no desire, most of them, to get into the culture of the American life, to learn English, to learn our history. Some of them do, but many of them don't, because they publicly said they want a revolution in America. They want to redistribute the wealth of Americans to themselves. I mean, talk about the ignorance on the part of these leaders. Do we have enough time to play the next clip? No. All right, so when we come back from the break, I want to play the remainder of the statement by John Whitehead on what this will mean for you and your liberty and your freedom through this amnesty legislation. And if they can't get it through amnesty legislation, my friends, they'll get it another way. They want this Real ID Act, this national ID card. They'll change the name as many times as they need to sell it to the American people. The same way they change the name of any education reform as soon as the parents figure out what it is. And that's exactly what they'll do here. And I wonder how many liberal Republicans like Lindsey Graham and Olympia Snowe and moderate to liberal Lamar Alexander from the Bible Belt of Tennessee will go along with this. But what's really stunning is how many, quote, Christian leaders are being used, I believe today, by a godless leader who hates America and hates Christianity the same way Hitler used pastors and clergy of his day. We'll take your calls and more after we play this clip after the break. My website's worldviewweekend.com, where you'll find all of these articles I've referenced. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Have you ever wondered how we can make available the free Worldview Weekend rallies all over the country and our free national television broadcast, the Worldview Weekend Hour? Well, one of the ways we're able to do these things is because of the generosity of you through the Worldview Weekend Foundation. The Worldview Weekend Foundation is working with Worldview Weekend to make the free Worldview Weekend rallies possible. And the Worldview Weekend Foundation